everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I will never read. So this is kind of an anti-TBR, anti-haul video. I don't think I've done one of these videos before. I have definitely spoken about authors that I have given up on. I will leave that video linked if you would like to go and watch it. But I don't think I have done a video on books that I will never read kind of generally. There may be some overlap. I recorded the previous video ages ago, so I don't actually know. I did get this idea from Joshana's channel. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. I watched her video recently talking about books that she won't read, and it inspired me to talk about my own list because I do have a long list. So I have a whole note shelf on Goodreads, which is basically books that I've tagged as I will not ever read for various reasons. Most of them are because of the authors and their kind of behaviour, attitude, personality that I don't really vibe with. Others are books in a series that I've really hated the previous book or books for, but I don't really want to talk about too many of those because that might get quite repetitive, and I wanted to talk about books that I feel more strongly about. So without further ado, let's get into the books. The first one I want to mention is ACOTAR. So I actually read A Court of Thorns and Roses when it first came out. I had an advanced reader's copy and I think I donated it to a charity shop years ago, which is a shame because I probably could have traded that thing for an arc of The City of Brass, which is something that I'm dying to get my hands on. So I read ACOTAR and I did not enjoy it. I hated the romance. I found it quite abusive and I didn't think that the series was going to get any better. And then as more and more people started discovering the series and it kind of blew up on BookTube, I realised that the couple in the series is not one that I enjoy, so I decided not to continue on with the series, and I definitely won't be reading any more of those books in the future. That doesn't mean that I have given up on Sarah J Maas though, because I really want to finish off the Throne of Glass books because I haven't done that yet. I think I got up to Empire of Storms and I stopped reading the series just before that one came out. And I do kind of want to try Crescent City or House of Earth and Blood, but that's huge and I don't know if I'm going to get to it anytime soon. I might just wait until the whole series is out. Moving on, I also will never read The Beautiful by Renée Ahdieh. I haven't enjoyed a book by this author yet. I've only read The Wrath and the Dawn, to be fair, but it wasn't a good book, so I wasn't dying to check this one out. And to be honest, vampires aren't really my kind of thing unless it's Vampire Academy. I love that series. Yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me, so I think that's the reason why I don't want to read it. It's nothing that the author has done. It's more that the concept and the topic doesn't really appeal to me in the slightest, so I don't think I'll be reading this one. The next book that I want to talk about is Chain of Gold, but really you could include any Cassandra Clare book in this because I really don't like her. In my opinion, back in the fandom days, she was not a very nice person. You can read more about this online if you want to. I'm not going to go into detail here, but it's really put me off her. And I read the first, I think, 4 books in the City of Bones Mortal Instruments series, and I read the first 2 books in the Infernal Devices Clockwork Angel series, and I liked the first trilogy. Okay, it was all right. It kind of got me into YA at the beginning, so that was good. It was enjoyable, but then she had this weird thing with incest in her books, not in real life, and it just kept popping up and I didn't really like that at all, obviously. I mean, I think it's obvious. And then the books just started getting really repetitive. I didn't like Clockwork Prince, I think is the second one in that series. Didn't like that one at all. The love triangle was just getting ridiculous, and that combined with her previous alleged fandom antics, I just don't really vibe with her as a person, as an author, so I don't want to support her or read her books at all. Number 4 is one that I've gone back and forth about, but I think I'm going to put it on this list because I am hurt and angry it's still not out, and that is The Winds of Winter. So I, along with many people, have been waiting years for this book. George R.R. Martin seems to have been waiting years for this book too, and I think I have officially given up. I don't really feel the need to finish off this series. I don't want to because I think he's got too many threads to tie together, which is why he's taking so long to write the book, and I'm worried it's either going to be a mess or it's just going to be dull, or he's going to actually extend the series further and then never finish it. So I don't really want to read this book anymore. I was quite hyped for it back when I finished A Dance with Dragons, but now that I've seen the show and I know that he's probably going to do a better job than the final season of the show did, I feel like I have some closure, even if that closure is not very good, so I don't feel the need to finish off this series. I might read Fire and Blood though. My friend tells me that I should probably read that one, so I'm going to buy that soon and read it and do a whole video on it because I think it's probably a good one to discuss. But I won't be reading The Winds of Winter or A Dream of Spring if they ever come out. The next one that I will absolutely never read is The Cruel Prince. Again, this one isn't really to do with the author. This is more because, again, the concept doesn't really appeal to me. I don't really like fae. It's something that's never really appealed to me, and sometimes it does work out out if they're not really fae-like creatures, or if they're not revealed to be fae until a bit further on. I'm thinking of a few series in particular there. But yeah, they're not really a magical creature that I really vibe with. Same with mermaids, actually. I don't really love those. Anyway, nothing about this series appeals to me. I think the fandom is kind of outspoken and wild, and while that's not necessarily like a reason for me not to read the book, I don't really want to get involved with the fandom, especially because I don't think I'll like this book. I don't think I'll like the characters. The romance does not appeal to me. It turns me off entirely, so I don't want to read The Cruel Prince or the sequels. Next is a sequel to a book that I have read and I hated, that is Golden Sun. I honestly despised Red Rising. I read it years ago. It was so boring. It wasn't written very well, and I didn't like any of the characters, so I don't really have much to say about Golden Sun, which I think, is that the second book, or it might be Morning Star, I can't remember. Yeah, I feel like the author had a good idea, but his writing wasn't really developed. The whole booktube fandom thing about him also creeped me out, so that put me off of the book as well. People were very obsessed with the author in the first few years of Red Rising being out. It was very awkward. If any of you were around during that time, then you probably remember. But yeah, I don't really want to carry on with the series at all. It doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. Next is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This one is mainly due to the author. I've seen him say a couple of rude things online. Since YA contemporary doesn't really appeal to me that much anymore anyway, unless it's by an author that I'm already familiar with, I don't really feel the need to check this one out. I was quite interested in it, to be honest, because it does have a very large following and people seem to love this book, so I think it's probably a good book. I just don't really like the author all that much, and so I feel like I've got better things to read and better authors that I want to support. So yeah, I won't be reading this one, I don't think, unless someone can really change my mind about it in the comments. Next is another one entirely to do with the author, and that is Ender's Game by Austin Scott Card. He has said some very homophobic things in the past. While I have heard really good things about this series, it's only one that I actually heard about once I started getting involved in the booktube or book blogging community, so it's not like a sort of childhood favourite book that I really want to check out. It's not one that I've always heard about like throughout my entire life, and it's something that I feel like I should read. So I've knocked that one off my TBR because I just don't really want to read it. Next is Half a World by Joe Abercrombie. I read the first book, Half a King, and I hated it. It was awful. I think it was his attempt at YA, except it didn't, as far as I can remember, it didn't really feel like YA, and I was reading YA at the time, and so I think I went into it expecting a very different thing. Either that or his writing style does not vibe well with YA books, because I really enjoyed the first Lord trilogy. Those are the only books of his that I've read so far, but I did really like them. So it's not that his writing style isn't good or isn't for me. I think it's just his writing style with that setting and that story that didn't really work out. So I won't be continuing on with the trilogy, but I will be checking out his other stuff. I've actually got quite a few books on my TBR because Quill is a massive fan. He's currently reading the first book in the first Lord trilogy again for the third time, I think. He's loving it, and I do want to check out the standalones sometime soon, but I don't really want to read the rest of this trilogy. Next we have Skyward. So I DNF'd this because I hated it. I really don't like Brandon Sanderson's YA. Did I even say his name right? I think I just said Brando. Brandon Sanderson, that guy. I don't enjoy his YA books. I don't know what it is about it. I know that some people say that Mistborn is technically YA, and I loved Mistborn. There's something about the books that he's specifically trying to write for a YA audience that I do not vibe with. I've tried his superhero series, I can't remember the name of it. I tried the first one, didn't like it. Tried Skyward, hated it. It was just so boring, and I don't really have much else to say about it. I was bored the entire time. The main characters didn't really have a personality. I didn't find any characters in there that I loved as much as I do in his other books. I think it was lacking a kind of found family thing for me, and it was also lacking a lot of the snark as well that I usually find in Brandon Sanderson's books. So yeah, I don't really want to continue on with this series, trilogy, whatever it's going to be, and I probably will give up on his YA books from now on. Although if that other book, The Arithmetist, is YA, I'm quite interested in that. I don't know if it's YA or adult, but I quite like the cover, so I might try that one. Next is Empire of the Vampire by Kristoff, who again is an author that I don't really enjoy. I think he writes creepy sex scenes, and if you've read Nevernight then you might know what I mean, but the sex scenes in that were awful. I thought it was really weird that he is marketing this book, Nevernight that is, as an adult trilogy, but then writing about teenagers having sex, like descriptively. It just seems very strange to me, and I'm not okay with that. I don't know why he didn't age the characters up a bit more. I don't know why he felt the need to write about a 16-year-old and a 16-year-old giving blowjobs. It just felt a bit weird. Going forward, I don't really want to check out any more of Kristoff's stuff. So I did read Storm Dancer by him, and I have the sequel, but I don't know if I want to read that. But Empire of the Vampire is one I'm definitely not going to read. First of all, it's huge, and I don't like his writing style enough to get invested in a book that big from him. And like like I said, vampires, really not my kind of thing, so I don't really feel the need to read this one. I'm sorry to all the J. Kristoff fans out there. I know there are a few of you and I'm probably upsetting a bunch of subscribers, but he's just really not an author for me, and I can't get over Nevernight and the experience that was. So yeah, I don't really want to check out this one, although I do want to recap it for Recaptain, so if anyone is available and willing to recap the entire book, then hit me up, I suppose. Next we have The Boy on the Bridge. This one is the sequel or prequel, I think, to The Girl with All the Gifts, and I think I started reading it actually and I DNF'd it because I did enjoy The Girl with All the Gifts. I gave it 3 stars, so it was a good book and I enjoyed the concept. I liked the movie a lot actually. The movie was very good, so I thought I'd give The Boy on the Bridge a go because I think, if I remember correctly, it's kind of an origin story to The Girl with All the Gifts, and I thought it was going to be a really good zombie book, but it wasn't. It was really boring. I don't think M.R. Carey's writing is for me, to be honest. I don't really get all that invested in it. It was the same with The Girl with All the Gifts as well. I enjoyed the concept, the idea. I quite like the characters, but the writing style was just meh. It was just very like flat, and even with the exciting scenes there wasn't really much tension built in there, which is something that I really like in my books. So I won't be checking out this one. I probably won't be checking out any more of his books either. It's not really something that I want to do. And the next ones are companion books, and that's is Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and At Your Age, Eve Brown. So I hated Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I DNF'd it. I tried to read it, I think for the 24-hour readathon or for some kind of readathon, and I was convinced that I was going to love it. It was a complete impulse purchase during the vlog, and then in the next clip I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I read about 30% I think, and I hated it. The characters were awful. The writing style again was dull. I appreciated what the author was trying to do with Chloe's mental health. Actually, that was quite well done in the beginning, but I just couldn't get into the romance, and the romance was a huge part of the plot, so I didn't really like this one in the slightest, so I won't be carrying on with the series. The thought of reading Danny Brown or Eve Brown just puts me to sleep. The first book was just so bad for me. I really hated it. I'm tempted to say that I understand why it has such a big fandom, because I feel like that's something that I should say, but I don't get it. I don't really understand, so I won't be reading those ones. And that's it. That's a load of the books that I won't be reading. Let me know if you enjoyed this anti-haul, anti-TBR video, and if you think I should do more of them. I'm sure there are way more books that I don't really feel like I want to read. Let me know what you think of this setup as well. It's new. I probably won't be staying up here all the time, but I quite like that you have my bookshelf in the background, at least for now, until I get a new one. Let me know if there are any books that you absolutely won't read in the comments below and tell me what they are. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you all in my next video. Bye!